Kizzy-Anne, Teachers News Network, a low-budget network.
Good evening, everyone. I hope you all had a wonderful weekend. This is the Teachers News Network, a no-budget news broadcast for issues facing our magnanimous educators and their charges. I am Claudia Belfort, and we're out on the field today. And our top story is standardized assessments. Why are our kids as young as 3 years of age being subjected to standardized assessments? But what really is a standardized assessment? A standardized assessment is a comparative tool used by educators to determine the performance of one student against another. SEA, CXC, and CAPE are just some of the standardized assessments that our children are subjected to on a regular basis. In this newscast, we will be speaking to several individuals who are against the standardized assessment in our education system. Are their comments and concerns a representation of how we feel about these mandatory high-stakes tests, or are they being overly dramatic? You be the judge. Vanessa, our reporter on the field, is going to look at the purpose of the standardized assessments and their role in the educational system. We pass you on to Vanessa.
Thank you, Claudia. What is the purpose of these tests? Why do they exist? Why are they playing such an important part in our educational system? These are just a few questions someone can ask about the varying standardized tests in our nation. In an article by Hauser, 2003, he states that standardized testing creates a default philosophy about education, where value is placed on the scores achieved on high-stakes tests rather than the achievement that these scores are meant to represent. He goes on to quote Jones et al. 1999 that teachers in turn find themselves doing things that fall short of their vision of themselves as educators, such as drilling students on practice tests, eliminating untested subject matter, or teaching to the test. Thus, the test is seen as the driving force behind the curriculum. This leads to a lack of instructional innovation on the part of the teacher, aka a very boring lesson. The student is said to face a similar fate, as it was noted in an article in 1998 by Highlandiner, Haas, and Allison that the test was seen to discourage social and intellectual development, such as cooperation, creativity, and problem-solving skills, as students' time was spent learning what exactly appeared on the test. Surely, we can all agree that learning a test is not the way we envision our children's educational process. Then the question is, what is our philosophy of education? Why have these tests been allowed to mess with such philosophy? Surely there must be a guiding principle upon which society educates the future generation. Kizzy-Anne is of the belief that in the United States, this is the most difficult question to answer, since there seems to be no clear definition of a philosophy of education. He went on to quote Eisner, who stated, "We are not clear about what we are after. Aside from literacy and numeracy, what do we want to achieve? What are our aims? What is important? And what kind of educational culture we want our children to experience?" For Eisner, the responses to these questions should lead to a rich and more purposeful educational experience. I know what would be your next question. Does Trinidad and Tobago have a clearly defined educational philosophy? Have our great twin island republic engaged in any dialogue, be it rich or otherwise, on what our children are supposed to be getting from the whole school experience? Well, we have all grown up with the saying that school days are the best days. But what does this statement represent? Is it part of our discussion on education? The answer is yes. Our philosophy of education mirrors that of the No Child Left Behind movement of 2001 in the United States. So the other question becomes evidence. So, what is the philosophy behind this test? Why are we subjecting our young ones all over the world to standardized tests? Again, Gosenhauer, in quoting Crotty in 1996, clarifies this. The philosophy of high-stakes testing comes from a behaviorist, positivist philosophy that places emphasis on what can be measured. In an article by Bakker and Lewis in 2015, the authors made the case that if teaching and learning are to be data-driven, then it is only logical that a standardized test be used to measure such data. They further went on to state that instead of asking an epistemological question such as what do the tests let us know, diagnose, or categorize, a different question based on theories put forward by a critic, Ronell, in 2005, of an ontological nature should be asked, such as what is the very being of the test? In asking this question, the authors suggest that we will appreciate the need for testing as part of education. I am Vanessa Bernard. This is TNN News. Thank you, Claudia.
And next we have educational psychologist Kizzy-Anne Carbon, who will be telling us about the detrimental effects standardized assessments has on our young people. An interesting interview of that.
Researchers believe that a consistently constant and extensive amount of testing amongst our youngsters nationally, regionally, and internationally has led to an increase in stress-induced suicides, depression, and anxiety, and a reduction in self-efficacy. This generation is actually considered to be the most tested generation of all time. In America alone, students between the range of grade 3 to grade 9 experience over 16 tests per year. When you compare that to Trinidad and Tobago, students between the ages of 9 to 19 experience dozens of tests per year. And for what? A study conducted by the American Psychological Association in 2014 has shown that teens are reporting high levels of stress. Teens ages 13 to 17 were surveyed. In the report, 83% of teens surveyed claimed that school was their source of stress. 69% cited getting into a good college. Conversely, in Trinidad and Tobago, students who write essays, CSEC, and CAPE worry about whether or not they would excel in their respective high-stakes examinations. In the study, teens reported experiencing a wide range of symptoms of stress, which were both physical and psychological in nature. 30% stated that they feel depressed or sad as a result of stress. 31% reported feeling overwhelmed, and 36% of teens reported feeling nervous or anxious. These reactions, according to researchers, are a direct result of standardized testing. Health consequences associated with standardized testing were cited as including stomach aches and vomiting, headaches, sleep problems, depression, attendance problems, anxiety attacks, and acting out. Stress related to standardized testing has also resulted in suicide in many instances. Within the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, there have been reports of suicide as a result of the stress of taking these examinations. One such incident was reported in May 8, 2014. Devendra Budu, 13 of Sadu Trace, Aranguez, was found hanging at around 4:30 p.m. on May 7, 2014. This was the day before he was scheduled to write his SCA examinations. This is not a coincidence, but a consequence of the stress related to standardized testing. In an article written by Dr. Margaret Naki Chatur, president of the Trinidad and Tobago Association of Psychologists in the Trinidad Guardian on Wednesday, 16 January 2019, she states, "The pressure has begun, and for some of our children, the bow has begun to break. Slowly and surely. SCA exam is near and CXC is not far away. and the rates of anxieties and depression will rise among our young students and in their families. These challenges are not exclusive to our society. End quote. Standardized testing has the potential to negatively affect students' self-efficacy. Researchers such as Dutra and Selland and Harlan and Deacon Crick argue that by classifying students as either proficient or less proficient, high-stakes tests have the ability to inform and affect how children construct their identities as learners. That is, students lose confidence in their ability to learn and achieve academically, and this lowers self-esteem. Long and Robertson quote a parent expressing similar concerns about the effects of standardized testing on students. Kids pay a very high price. It chips away at their sense of self as learners from a young age, telling them that there is one way to learn and boxing them into narrow ways of seeing their skills and their contributions. End quote.
We then spoke to Kelly Leotard, a senior teacher, who was speaking at a conference about how parents are facilitating the continuation of these standardized assessments. She looked at, are we raising good children, or are we raising children who are robotic and are able to just regurgitate the content?
There are also parents who add to their children's anxiety and stress. Many parents seem to have forgotten that it is important to raise a child who is a good person and who contributes to society, rather than to raise a child who can do well in a test by memorizing and regurgitating facts. Some parents seem so focused on their child attending a prestigious school that they forego many of their parental duties, and instead of spending time and money on their child's personal growth, they would rather spend that time and money on private lessons for their child, which deprive the child of important relaxation and playtime, which are necessary for a child's development and learning. Some parents even go so far as breaking the law and illegally procuring placements for their children in school by way of bribes. As reported in the New York Times, March 14, 2019. In March, federal prosecutors charged 50 people in a brazen scheme to secure spots at Yale, Stanford, and other big-name schools in what they called the largest college admission scam ever prosecuted by the Department of Justice. They've accused dozens of parents of paying millions of dollars in bribes to help their children get into the schools. Parents have also been known to do their child's homework and or fix or redo their projects so that their child might procure an A, a prize, or praise of some sort. This does not contribute in any way to the child's learning or development. All this does is to give a child the impression that cheating is okay. In the Caribbean, it has become necessary to introduce a new subject into the school curriculum. HFLE, Health and Family Life Education, has been introduced. HFLE teaches a child many life lessons which no longer seem to be taught at home. It helps students learn how to make the right choices in life. HFLE aims to cultivate the right attitudes, values, and skills in students in the hope of promoting the growth of more holistic individuals. HFLE recognizes that improving a child's mental, cognitive, and emotional health are all vital to the growth of a well-rounded and happy individual. In the words of an HFLE guidance counselor, Margaret Grant from Barbados, if you have a child that is just a bookworm who's getting all A's, but they don't know how to deal with someone who's putting drugs at them, what do you have? A failure. With so much emphasis being placed on a child to succeed, it is no wonder that the number of teen suicides and cases of child depression have seen an increase in recent years. When a child does not perform well on a test, it often results in them feeling like a failure and not being motivated to learn new work.
But what about the kids? How do they feel? We spoke to Form 6 student Letitia, who gave us insight into how she feels about these standardized assessments. A very emotional interview by Letitia, where she voiced her concerns about how standardized assessments is not allowing her to really truly be herself. Tests? No, miss, I don't like tests. I really don't like tests. Right now, I can't even change my clothes. I come home from school and I had to be sitting down here. I ain't get to eat nothing. Why? Because I have a sociology test tomorrow. I say, I really don't like tests. What tests really doing for we? It just maintaining the social inequality in this place. I learned that in sociology. Whoever in a certain class bracket, there's an abstain in that class bracket because they have the means to get through the test. Miss, I can't afford to go and take no lessons, you know. I doing A-levels right now. You know how hard that is? It have children in my class, miss. They in the math. They in the science. They in every subject that they in, miss. Their parents can afford to send them to lessons. My mother can't do that. My mother cannot afford to send me to lessons, so I had to sit down here and try and beat book as often as I can. I don't get no leisure time or nothing, you know, miss. Tests. You know, I read in here, right? I'll tell you sociology I'm studying for. I read in here by some man called Broadfoot. And he wrote this in 1996, and he said that the education systems and assessments have a single underlying rationale: to distribute social roles that are not all equally desirable. So, miss, you know what I mean? I'm gonna break it down for you. It means that the standardized tests just fit people into a certain bracket. So, nobody wants to be a janitor, but if you fail the test, you could be a janitor. Everybody wants to be a doctor. And if you pass the test, you could be a doctor. That's social inequality, miss. And guess what? We all have to do it every single step of the way. From the time I was 3 years old in preschool, I doing standardized tests. I doing tests right through. It's not fair. It's not fair at all. I hear sitting down trying to study for a test. Karl Marx said it one, you know, miss. He said that the educational system is just maintaining people in the brackets that they already are in. We can't jump from one bracket to the next. I'm real trying hard, but it's not working. It's not going to work. I have a friend. She earn real money. She go into every single lessons. When she come home, she have nothing to do in the house. Me, I get this little slot. You know why? Because my mother happened to be home today. Sorry, moms. So I don't want to take care. She picked me. But on a normal, I had to be taking care of my 2 young brothers and sisters. That's not fair. I want to do this thing in America, what you call it? SATs. What it is? A standardized assessment. So I hoping to get into college at a reasonable price so that my mother could, you know, afford it. I had to do a standardized assessment. I had to do SATs, a test. I hate tests, miss. I hate tests. I back to my work, eh? So what are we really subjecting our kids to? Are standardized assessments really in their best interest? Or are we just compounding an already skewed educational system? This is Claudia Belfont. Have a good night.
Education, education, this is the foundation. Our rising population needs sound education to be recognized anywhere you go. Have your certificate to show, to enjoy any kind of happiness. Knowledge is the key to success. Children go to school and learn well. Otherwise, later on in life, you won't catch real hell. Without an education in your head, your whole life will be pure misery. You're better off dead. For there is simply no room in this whole wide world for an uneducated little boy or girl.